Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexalex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. Finally coming back to Maliss. Now that we're done playing around with Ryzeal and the Secret Cup. I think it's still actually underway at the time this video is going out. But, yeah, still want to definitely make some time for Maliss this season for a couple of reasons. Main one, for me personally, is that Lancia is no longer nearly as prevalent in the meta. It is still seeing some amount of play, but definitely not as much as it was last month, which means I think this deck is finally actually fun to play. I made a whole video about it last month, but my whole big issue with Maliss last season was that with Lancia running around, it just felt like there were a bunch of skillless games where Lancia just gets resolved, one player can't do anything, and then the other one just wins. So, very glad to be coming back to Maliss now that I feel like there is some actual interaction going on with matchups involving this deck. I'm still running mostly the same build I was before. List is going to be at the end of the video here, but namely I am still running a list without TB11. It's interesting, from what I can tell as far as all of the data I've looked over, it looks like TB11 is still decently popular on ladder, but when it comes to community tournaments, those builds play the card a lot less often. I maintain that TB11 is still very optional, and I actually like not playing it still. Funnily enough, I think the main reason I would want to play it is, if I was going to play it, is to have some more protection against cards like Valor and Imperm. If you open something like Dormouse or White Rabbit, and you also have one of the Maliss Trap cards in hand, it's very nice to be able to set that Maliss Trap card, then summon your Maliss monster. That way, if it does get negated, you can simply banish it, resolve the effect, and then get the summon as well, right? So, yeah, like I said, I'm really enjoying playing Maliss a lot more than I was in the last season. I will say that the approach of Ryzeal has definitely sort of balanced the meta. I guess it depends on your perspective, though. It's balanced the hand trap meta, in that now you can't just play a super hyper-specific hand trap against the one best deck in the format and be good to go. Right now there are two decks that are roughly about equal. You can make arguments for whether Maliss or Ryzeal is better than the other. I think that you can make an argument either way. They're roughly equal. And while the hand trap meta, so to speak, has been balanced out, unfortunately, it seems like anything that isn't Ryzeal or Maliss is going to have a lot more difficult of a time moving forward, right? Of course, this is because of the just inherent power level of the decks, something that will be more noticeable moving forward as more new meta decks come out. They're going to maintain roughly this power level, and I don't know, it's going to take some either specific counterplay in matchups or legacy support or something for a lot of other decks to keep up. That's not to say anything that isn't Ryzeal or Maliss is unplayable, but it's a similar power creep that we saw when Snake Eye came into the game, really. Alright, so in this game in particular, as you can see, I got stopped pretty early in my turn, and got the Dormouse Imperm, that's what it was. I didn't really have any other extenders I could use. Yeah, the one thing that, well, not the one thing, but one of the things, rather, that I think Maliss has kind of going against it as opposed to Ryzeal is a lot more flexible in terms of its ability to play into hand traps, right? A hand with Ryzeal where you open 2 or 3 of your starters and you get hit with Imperm, super easy to keep playing, right? But as you saw with this opening hand, we had Dormouse, Chessy Cat, and White Rabbit, and I only really get one normal summon with Maliss, so one Imperm is still enough to stop me there. Here, thankfully, though, I was able to use the Dominus Impulse to stop my opponent from OTKing me, and now, thanks to the Max C I played, I'm going to have a lot of ability to bounce back here. Also, apologize for the background noises there. They're doing some construction work, but hopefully it's not too bad. Anyway. Yeah, like I said, the Ryzeal deck just has so much more ability to play into hand traps than Maliss does. That's that deck's big strength. However, Maliss's big strength is that it has a lot more going on with its deck once it pops off, right, than Ryzeal does. Ryzeal is pretty much always just going to make Detonator and maybe 1 or 2 other rank 4s, and that's about it. Whereas Maliss has many, many different things that it can set up, many board states here. And as you can see, even though my opponent has a huge board, I'm still able to threaten very nicely here. I have the ability to make my own access code right now, but even if I didn't, I've been holding on to this triple tack that I could have used to take my opponent's access code and swing into their Appaloosa for game. So, yeah, just a lot more flexibility in terms of what your game plan can do when uninterrupted is the strength that Maliss has. But Ryzeal, again, has the big strength of being able to do more when they get interrupted. Or not do more, but still do the one thing they do, summon Detonator, plus another rank 4 or 2, even while getting interrupted. Here we're going to have a going second game against Ryzeal. My opponent negated their own X with Aggregator. I haven't made that misclick yet, but I'm still waiting for the day that I do. But they still have the ability to normal summon Ice Ryzeal and continue play. I elected to use Max C here and not ashing the Ice Ryzeal because it didn't really matter at that point, right? Even if I ashed the Ice Ryzeal, they could still go into Duo Drive, and yeah, obviously Max C was the play there. It's going to cause my opponent to make a 4-mat Detonator and then pass. Now, it's really easy to look at a 4-mat Detonator and be like, oh, is that it? But that is actually going to be something to contend with here. I'm going to lead with the set TB11 before I normal summon Dormouse to play around something like Imperm or Veiler. But actually I have a crossout for the Imperm, so I'm going to use that here. Then when my opponent goes to use Detonator on the face down TB11, or MTP07, sorry, that's when I'll chain it. Definitely want to use this MTP here in order to make sure that we're getting the search as well as the Dormouse summon. Managing to find the March Hare is really nice here too, just giving us... We need as many extenders as we can get here. Dormouse is going to banish Chessy Cat, and then also, of course, summon itself. Chessy Cat can also banish the March Hare here to get a draw 2, and of course, March Hare will just bounce itself right back into the hand from the banish zone. So we're going to do that. Opponent's going to try to Ghost Ogre the Chessy Cat. I don't really know why they bothered when they already had the Detonator up, although I guess to be fair, it doesn't... I guess it kind of doesn't matter in that regard. Ogre and Detonator are always pretty much going to do the same thing here. But I'll still use the Callby on the Ogre to force a Detonator pop here. At this point, what I'm really trying to do is run this Detonator out of materials, because unfortunately... I was not able to find like an Imperm or anything that lets me simply negate the Detonator. So I'm going to have to push through it the old-fashioned way. Gonna add it back the March Hare. But it's actually gonna chain the Detonator here to pop my last card, the Dormouse, which I was actually really relieved to see, because it means that I am now good to go. Well, no, sorry, they still have one more material, but I know I'm good to go here because I can activate Maliss and Underground, and even if they chain it, we're still good. Now here, my opponent accidentally targeted their own Detonator and they misclicked. But if they hadn't have done that, if they had popped the Maliss and Underground and it didn't resolve, I still could have activated the March Hare to banish the White Rabbit in my hand to special itself, and then White Rabbit would have specialed itself, and then I could have gone Splash Mage into a Link 3 and then comboed out from there, while my opponent had a 0-mat Detonator and only one card in hand. So yeah, definitely still had the out there, even if my opponent did not misplay. I want to make sure I pointed that out because that is still, like, you know, very relevant there. So in this game against the Blue Eyes, I'm going to fire off Max C against the normal summoned Primite Ether Barrel. I think that's generally a really good thing to do if you see your opponent lead with normal summoned Ether Barrel. Even if they're on the Fiendsmith control deck, they were still planning on special summoning that turn, summoning off of the Lordly Load and or possibly going to a Spheres or something. But it's more likely than not that you're going to be playing against Blue Eyes if you see Ether Barrel. Fiendsmith Control is definitely still out there, but the Blue Eyes deck is going to be far, far more common. So I like firing off the Max C right off the bat against it. I think that's really, really nice to do. And if you are going to hold the Max C against a deck that's playing the Primite strategy, you could wait until the Blue Eyes Link one uses its effect if it does end up being Blue Eyes. Obviously, if it's Fiendsmith Control, you simply use it against Fiendsmith cards. Alright, so let's see here. In this game, we're going second, and this is kind of one of those scenarios I was talking about earlier where Maliss kind of just really does not like opening certain multiple starters here. Like, I have 2 Dormouse and 2 Maliss and Underground here. I like having a starter and then a follow-up extender, but it would have been really helpful if one of these, like if instead of another Dormouse, it was a March Hare, right? Or if instead of Maliss and Underground, it was, like a Gold Sark. That was the card I was trying to think of. Which, again, is something that Ryzeal does definitely have over a Maliss. Like, with what do you call it? With Ryzeal, like, even if I, let's say, opened multiple Ice Ryzeal, I could still normal one, that gets negated, and then special the other with its effect, and then still go into either Duo Drive or Detonator, just depending on what my opponent has and what the rest of my hand looks like, right? And again, that's a huge thing Ryzeal's got over this deck. Even if you open multiple of the same starter, you can often still just combo out. Maliss does not have that luxury, so I think overall that's why I find Maliss to be the slightly weaker deck in this format, but I understand that some people kind of go more off the metric of measuring power based off what a deck can do when uninterrupted, so yeah, I think both are valid. Alright, so here we're going to still go for the Maliss and Underground F, something out the White Rabbit. We did manage to push through our opponent's Drill Beam as well as the Majesty. So those were the two things I was mainly worried about here. My opponent does have a lot of monsters on field, but nothing to do with them except send them away for Nibiru. Yeah, the Nib's really going to hurt here. And again, like, if this Dormouse had been March Hare and or this Underground had been like Gold Sark or something, still could have easily kept playing. Maybe even just won at this point, but no, unfortunately, not much else I can do, and also not really much I'm left with in terms of interacting with my opponent during this follow-up turn here, right? So, yeah, it's unfortunate, but what can you do? Alright, so they're going to use Roar of the Blue-Eyed here. I think I surrender at some point here. As soon as I see they can make a level 9 Synchro, that's right, because when they summon out the Maiden of White, then I'm like, alright, yeah, I'll pack it in. Because up to that point, they could have just gone, like, Spheres past, and that would have been more manageable, but I mean, it was still going to be really rough for me either way, pretty much no matter what happened. Okay, so last duel for this video. This one's going to be against Stun, I think, but I think really more than anything else, this is just going to be me showing off a turn 1 combo line. Yeah, this is actually just me showing off the 1-card combo line for Maliss and Underground. One thing I will say that's pretty different about my build is I'm no longer using Terahertz. I decided to try not playing it. It does give you some more flexibility in the extra deck, lets you play some things that are a little more narrow, a little more niche, like Salamangreat Almirage or Nightmare Phoenix, you know, things that could come up but aren't like super necessary. And, I mean, Terahertz itself is also not very necessary. If you're not ending on Terahertz, you could simply end on the Maliss Queen Hearts Cryptor, which is debatably even better to end on. I mean, they're just different forms of interaction, right? Terahertz gives you a spell trap negate with a D-Save Worm, as well as another potential interaction with either Packbit or Mirror Logic Aggregator, whereas with the Maliss Hearts Q Cryptor, you just get a straight-up banish, right? And those two different forms of interactions are, like, it's debatable, you know, which is better. The Maliss Q Hearts Cryptor Banish, I think, is a little bit more useful as far as its, like, flexibility. You can just banish any card in the field, whereas, you know, Terahertz can only stop certain things, whether it's a spell trap card from D-Save Worm or having to time your Packbit or Aggregator correctly. But, yeah, I mean, it's definitely not necessary by any means. So, if you're looking to make this deck and didn't want to spend the UR on something like D-Save Worm, then you can definitely get away without it, for sure. Yeah, so here, we're going to end on the Hearts Cryptor with 5 back row as well. And as soon as my opponent summons the Fossil Diamond, I'm just going to get rid of it and then flip up the GWC. But, yeah, they're just going to go ahead and concede at that point. So, alright, that is our last duel here, and here is the build. Like I said, it's not super different from what I've been doing. I'm on 3 Droll and Lockbird. Actually, I think I was on 3 Droll and Lockbird last season as well. Well, in my initial build, because I didn't think Lancia was going to see as much play as it did. But yeah, I like 3 Droll and Lockbird. It's not only really good against Ryzeal, but Maliss can also play through Droll fairly easily. So you can even sometimes use it aggressively against like a Maxi or something. But yeah, overall, I think that a list like this will do you pretty well if you're looking for a nice deck to rank up with, a nice Maliss list here. You could always throw in the TB11 if you wanted by taking out like the triple tack or something like that. But yeah, I think that's just about going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below of Maliss right now, especially the whole Ryzeal versus Maliss kind of argument. I'm always really interested to hear sides about that. But also, if you have any suggestions for the extra deck, let me know too. I feel like I could be doing something better than Nightmare Phoenix in particular. I don't feel like is maybe the most useful thing here, but I didn't really find anything too better at a glance. So if you have any other suggestions, let me know. But that is just going to about do it for this one. So why don't we move on here to our outro. But thank you again so much for watching until the end. Really do appreciate that. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.